Good morning, Matt Dela Cruz here with the Winning Minds Group, part of the John Maxwell team, and welcome to Mondays with Matt. Happy Monday to you as we kick off this beautiful Monday morning as we start designing and creating our masterpiece this week. You know, last week we talked about Unleash Your Imagination, and we talked about it as a two-part series. Last week was part one. Today I want to talk about Unleash Your Imagination, part two. And I don't know if you used your imagination much last week, or maybe you really don't have a thorough understanding on what it is and how to use it in our leverage. This week we're going to talk about the two types of imagination that we have. We have the synthetic imagination and we have the creative imagination. Now the synthetic imagination, that's probably what majority of people they use. And the synthetic imagination, these are our ideas, our concepts, our plans where we combine them together. We use and we leverage our observations and our experiences, past experiences. That's more of what we call the synthetic. We make decisions based on, let's just say, possibility thinking versus realistic thinking, facts versus truth, same thing. Facts change, truth doesn't change. Realistic thinking is based on historic things we've experienced, so that's in our mind. We're saying that's where I'm being real. I'm being realist. I'm being a realist on it. But we don't ask ourselves the other side of the question: is it possible to do this? So possibility thinking, same thing. That's more of how we can look at synthetic imagination, and of course the creative imagination. Now the creative imagination, that's where you have to work on like a muscle. You got to build it. The more you use it, you build the muscle on the creative imagination. It becomes more of a great tool for us to use. These are the geniuses today that utilize that type of faculty, as we call it. But then it's like kids, for example. Kids have this creative imagination. If you gave them a piece of paper, they can make an airplane out of it. They can make some type of an animal out of it. That's a creative imagination. If you've ever been to a restaurant and when you get a, quote, doggy bag of food to go, some of those high fancy restaurants, they create the swan, a duck, a turtle, whatever, in this foil. Creative imagination. You give a kid a big box that was a refrigerator was in, and they make a fort, they make an apartment, they'll make a building out of it, or they'll make a car out of it. Some of them go use their creative imagination. They'll make this huge sled that they'll slide down a grassy hill. That's the creative imagination. In my Turning Point seminar that I have, that I'm launching this year, we do an exercise in Turning Point where we get to unleash your imagination, where you get to dream about anything you want to be, do, or have, where I'll show you why people don't have what they want because they stop dreaming, because they have those limited beliefs. And that comes back down to because we're not building and we're not working that muscle of the creative imagination. And I'll show you some different exercises on how to be able to do that, to go above and beyond what you ever imagined in your life, dreamed about in your life, that it's always been there, that you just haven't taken the first steps from departure to get to arrival, your dream or your goal. Next week, I want to talk about something that's super exciting, and I'm bringing all this back up for some reason. It's just tugging at my heart about some of the things that I learned in the past, and it's just coming out now, and I'm going, maybe it's at that level of awareness for me, to where now I'm saying, now this is all starting to make sense, which it really is, and now I'm putting more into practice now than I ever have before. But I want to end it with this quote, and this kind of the kickoff for next week. It talks about, I jotted this down on February 10th of this year, and it says, the intuitive mind is a sacred gift and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift, and that's by Albert Einstein. So when you think about that, what is that? What is that gift that we have? I know one thing for certain, and I'm going to talk about that next week, because when we learn about these faculties, and the imagination is a faculty. In fact, imagination is actually the fifth principle of the 13 principles of Think and Grow Rich. When Napoleon Hill describes it, and I've got some great quotes for that too that I want to share with you next week on how this all ties in line. I'm leading up to talk about and get you to understand about your turning points, to create this new level of awareness that, again, we can do, have anything we want. We just got to go back to really wanting and believing we can. So until next week, live with passion, live intentionally, and let's unleash our creative imagination this week. Thanks so much.